Have you ever felt stuck in repetitive patterns, as if you were reliving the same ups and downs of life without understanding why? This feeling of going in circles is no coincidence. There is a universal principle that governs these cycles, known as the principle of rhythm. It not only explains this constant oscillation between light and shadow, but it can also reveal how to transform these movements into allies for your personal evolution. Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists in history, explored this concept deeply. He saw the cycles of life as part of a dance between the conscious and unconscious, shaping our emotions, decisions, and even our connection with the universe. In this video, you will discover how understanding these rhythms, through Jung's ideas, can help you overcome internal conflicts, find emotional balance, and gain a new perspective on who you truly are. And if you've been following our series on the Hermetic principles, you know that each one holds practical tools for transforming your life. Today, we will explore how the principle of rhythm can illuminate your journey of self-discovery and help you face the highs and lows with greater clarity and purpose. Stay with me, because this could be the insight that forever changes the way you view the cycles of life. Life, in its essence, is a continuous movement of highs and lows, like the waves of an ocean. This constant flow is what the ancients knew as the principle of rhythm, a concept that describes the inevitable oscillation between extremes, whether in nature, human emotions, or life events. Carl Jung, the renowned Swiss psychologist, brought a profound understanding of how these cycles not only shape our existence but also reveal the hidden dynamics of the psyche. For Jung, the cycles of life are not mere random occurrences. They are part of a greater dance between the conscious and the unconscious. He believed that the repetitive movements we experience, such as moments of growth and regression, joy and pain, are manifestations of deeper forces that govern our minds. These rhythms invite us to look within ourselves, recognizing the patterns that often remain hidden, yet directly influence our decisions, behaviors, and worldview. Understanding the principle of rhythm, in light of Jung's ideas, opens up the possibility of navigating life with greater awareness. We are not passive victims of the tides. We are co-creators of our journey, learning to identify and align ourselves with the cycles that shape our being. The connection between natural rhythms and the human psyche is one of the pillars of Carl Jung's understanding of life. He saw the highs and lows we experience as reflections of unconscious forces at work, a constant dialogue between our inner world and the world around us. Just as the movement of the tides follows precise cycles, our emotions, thoughts, and behaviors also oscillate, sometimes seeking expansion, sometimes retreating into introspection. Jung believed that internal and external cycles are deeply interconnected. What we experience in the outer world often reflects what is happening inside of us, and vice versa. For example, moments of crisis can emerge as a mirror of unresolved internal conflicts, while periods of harmony can signal an alignment between the ego and the unconscious forces that make up our psyche. This dynamic is what Jung referred to as synchronicity, a reminder that the universe operates in cyclical patterns that resonate deeply with us. Recognizing this interconnection invites us to pay attention to the tides of our lives. By observing our ups and downs with curiosity and acceptance, we can uncover valuable clues about our deepest desires, fears, and potentials. Understanding these cycles allows us to ride the waves of existence rather than struggle against them, bringing greater balance and purpose to our journey. Life is marked by a constant oscillation between light and shadow, a movement that Jung saw as an essential part of the process of self-awareness. This concept is deeply tied to the principle of rhythm, which reminds us that every extreme will inevitably give way to its opposite. Thus, periods of expansion and illumination are followed by moments of contraction and introspection, forming a cycle that shapes our inner growth. Jung believed that the integration of the shadow, the aspects of ourselves that we prefer to ignore or reject, is crucial in dealing with these natural oscillations. When we refuse to acknowledge our vulnerabilities, fears, or repressed desires, we risk being swept away by these unconscious forces during low points. However, by embracing the shadow, we can find balance and strength even during the most challenging period. This cyclical movement between light and shadow is, in fact, an opportunity for us to grow as individuals. Each oscillation offers us the chance to look more deeply within ourselves, learn from our mistakes, and recognize the value of our limitations. This journey, although challenging, is the path to a more authentic and integrated life, where we can navigate the highs and lows with more wisdom and resilience. The cycles of life do not occur only on the individual level, they are also deeply connected to the collective unconscious, one of Carl Jung's most revolutionary ideas. For Jung, the collective unconscious is made up of archetypal patterns and images shared by all of humanity, transcending time and space. These patterns, which emerge in myths, dreams, and cultures, also reveal the universal rhythm that permeates human existence. Throughout history, we can observe the repetition of certain cycles, the rise and fall of civilizations, periods of crisis followed by cultural renaissances, or even recurring patterns in human behavior in response to change. Jung believed that these events are not mere coincidences, but expressions of the rhythmic movements of the collective unconscious, which shape the evolution of human consciousness. For example, mythology and epic narratives often describe heroes facing cyclical adversities, reflecting the inner journey that we all experience. These universal cycles show us that humanity is intertwined with the same rhythms that govern nature, the planets, and the cosmos. Recognizing these patterns can help us find meaning in our own experiences, realizing that we are not alone in our struggles and transformations. Life is a constant dance between extremes, and Carl Jung emphasized the importance of finding balance in this inevitable oscillation. The principle of rhythm teaches us that the movement of the pendulum, swinging from side to side, is natural and necessary. However, resisting this movement or clinging to one extreme can cause suffering and disharmony in our psyche. Jung proposed that the path to balance lies in accepting these cycles and seeking harmony between the opposites within us. This process is central to individuation, a concept that describes psychological maturation toward a full and authentic life. When we accept both the high and low moments, we are approaching a deeper integration between the ego, our conscious identity, and the self, the core of our psyche. Balance does not mean eliminating the extremes, but rather learning to navigate them with wisdom. Recognizing that the pendulum will eventually return to the center helps us face difficult moments with resilience and appreciate periods of calm and expansion without excessive attachment. This dance between opposites teaches us that balance is not a fixed state, but a continuous journey of alignment and self-awareness. The cycles of life not only teach us about the inevitable highs and lows, but they also intertwine deeply with Jungian archetypes, those primordial images that reside in the collective unconscious. Carl Jung identified these archetypes as universal patterns that shape our experiences and behaviors, reflecting the cycles we face throughout our journey. For example, the archetype of the hero represents the phase of conquest and overcoming, while the archetype of the mother symbolizes nurturing and care. These archetypes manifest at different points in our lives, following an order that often reflects psychological maturation. When we are young, we are driven by the energy of the hero, seeking affirmation and identity. As we grow older, the archetypes of the mother or the wise one may emerge, bringing with them lessons of acceptance, introspection, and guidance. The connection with these archetypes also helps make sense of the challenges we face. A period of crisis can be understood as the manifestation of the archetype of the shadow, which confronts us with parts of ourselves that we prefer to avoid. On the other hand, moments of harmony and achievement can be associated with the archetype of the self, which represents wholeness and inner balance. Jung believed that these archetypal cycles not only shape our individual lives but also connect our personal story to something greater, the shared history of humanity. Understanding the archetypes allows us to navigate the cycles of life with more wisdom and clarity. When we recognize that we are experiencing an archetypal pattern, such as rebirth after a great loss or the hero's call to face unprecedented challenges, we can position ourselves more consciously, accepting what needs to be lived. Thus, instead of resisting, we allow ourselves to flow with the natural rhythm of life, integrating the lessons that each archetype offers. These cycles also teach us that no phase is permanent. The archetype of the hero may give way to the archetype of the explorer, who seeks new meanings and territories, or to the wise one, who shares the knowledge gained. This fluidity between archetypes reflects the depth of the principle of rhythm, which shows us that life is a succession of states, each bringing its own wisdom and challenge. When we connect with these archetypes, we can see the beauty and purpose even in the most difficult moments, understanding that they are part of a greater journey. Acceptance of impermanence is one of the fundamental pillars for understanding the principle of rhythm and its impact on our inner transformation. Carl Jung recognized that life consists of cycles of loss and rebirth, and that resisting these natural changes only amplifies suffering. For him, acceptance of impermanence is essential for psychological and spiritual growth, as it allows us to let go of attachment to fixed states and embrace the fluidity of existence. Jung frequently compared the human psyche to a river in constant motion. When we try to contain or resist the natural flow of this river, whether by avoiding changes or clinging to specific moments, we create blockages that limit our development. Transformation, therefore, arises when we allow this flow to follow its course, accepting that each phase of life, no matter how challenging it may be, has a purpose in our journey of self-discovery. The cycles of impermanence can be seen in all areas of life: relationships that begin and end, periods of success that give way to moments of introspection, and even the natural cycles of the body that reflect the passage of time. Jung believed that these moments of transition, though painful, are unique opportunities for evolution. Just as nature requires seasons of retreat to bloom again, our psyche also needs periods of detachment and renewal to reach new levels of balance and understanding. Embracing impermanence requires courage, but it also frees us from the fear of loss. Jung taught that, instead of fighting the cycles, we should align ourselves with them, trusting that each ending brings with it a new beginning. This approach not only reduces suffering but also connects us to a deeper sense of purpose. When we accept that transformation is inevitable, we can open ourselves to the wisdom contained in each phase, allowing it to guide us to a more authentic version of ourselves. The cycles of impermanence invite us to reflect on who we are at our core. They show us that, even in the face of loss, something deeper remains intact: the core of our psyche, which Jung identified as the self. This self is the point of stability that helps us navigate changes without losing sight of our integrity. Thus, by accepting impermanence, we are not just surviving the challenges of life, but also transforming into something greater, stronger, and more connected to the whole. The shadow, one of Carl Jung's deepest and most fascinating concepts, plays a crucial role in the oscillation moments of life cycles. The shadow represents aspects of our psyche that we repress or reject, whether they are fears, desires, or traits we consider inappropriate. During low moments, when the pendulum of the principle of rhythm is in its downward motion, these hidden elements often emerge, bringing challenges that can destabilize us. Jung believed that resisting these revelations of the shadow only intensifies suffering. When we deny the existence of our vulnerabilities or difficulties, we create an internal conflict that prevents us from moving forward. However, by facing these moments with honesty and courage, we can transform difficulties into opportunities for growth. The oscillation cycles, therefore, are not punishments, but invitations to explore deeper layers of our psyche. A common example is when we face failures or losses. These periods can trigger feelings of inadequacy or insecurity, which are direct reflections of the shadow. Jung taught that, instead of fleeing from these feelings, we should embrace them as teachers. By integrating these shadow aspects, we uncover hidden strengths and learn to navigate tough times with greater wisdom and resilience. Additionally, the low moments teach us about the importance of humility. Jung saw confronting the shadow as an essential process for balancing the ego, preventing it from becoming arrogant or disproportionate. This integration fosters a more realistic sense of who we are and prepares us for the ascension cycles that inevitably follow periods of challenge. The key to dealing with the shadow during oscillations lies in recognizing it without judgment. This means accepting that we are imperfect, but also infinitely capable of transformation. Jung suggested practices like self-analysis, dreams, and inner dialogue to understand the shadow and use it as a tool for self-awareness. In this way, each cycle, no matter how turbulent, can become an opportunity for evolution and individuation. When we face challenges with this perspective, we learn to see the low moments as an integral part of the natural rhythm of life. They cease to be enemies to fight and transform into allies on the journey of growth. The shadow, after all, is not something to fear, but to integrate, as it holds the potential to make us whole and truly connected to our essence. The cycles of life are not limited to what we experience individually. They also reflect a much greater movement, a connection to the cosmic rhythms that govern the universe. Carl Jung believed that humanity is not separate from the whole but deeply intertwined with the natural and cosmic cycles, such as the phases of the moon, the seasons of the year, and the movements of the planets. These rhythms, for him, are not mere coincidences. They resonate in our psyche, influencing our perception, behaviors, and even our sense of purpose. Jung explored this cosmic connection in his studies of astrology, alchemy, and mythology, areas he believed provided clues about how the cycles of the universe affect human consciousness. He argued that there is a synchronicity between external and internal rhythms, and that by recognizing this connection, we can align our lives with the natural flow of the universe. For example, moments of personal renewal may coincide with seasonal changes, such as spring, which symbolizes rebirth and growth. Similarly, periods of introspection often coincide with winter, a time of retreat and reflection. This perception helps us understand that our challenges and achievements do not occur in isolation, but are part of a larger pattern. When we face a difficult moment, it can be helpful to remember that this cycle, like all others, is temporary and part of a broader movement. Jung believed that recognizing this cosmic connection can bring a deep sense of peace and purpose, as it shows us that we are part of something infinitely greater than ourselves. Furthermore, cosmic rhythms offer an opportunity for self-awareness. By observing the cycles around us, we begin to identify patterns in our lives. Periods of expansion followed by moments of retreat, phases of action interspersed with times of rest. These rhythms can serve as guides, helping us act at the right moment and respecting the time necessary for renewal and growth. This harmony with the whole is a form of transcendence, where we stop feeling separate and begin to see ourselves as participants in a universal movement. This connection can also be profoundly spiritual. For Jung, understanding cosmic rhythms was a way to reconnect with our deepest essence, the self, and with the divine, which he saw as a manifestation of the whole. Feeling part of this cosmic flow not only reduces anxiety in the face of inevitable changes, but also inspires us to live with more awareness and gratitude. When we align with the cycles of the universe, we find not only balance but also a sense of belonging that transforms the way we view life. Neutrality in the face of life cycles is a skill that Carl Jung considered essential for those seeking self-awareness and balance. It does not mean the absence of emotions, but rather the ability to observe changes with serenity and acceptance, without attachment to the highs or resistance to the lows. For Jung, this posture allows one to transcend the ego and connect with the self, the center of the psyche that reflects our wholeness. In moments of crisis or euphoria, neutrality teaches us to see beyond the immediate. When we face difficulties, such as loss or failure, we tend to identify with the suffering, making it more intense. However, Jung believed that observing these situations as parts of a greater cycle helps us deal with them more resiliently. Likewise, moments of success, when viewed with humility, can be fully appreciated without creating unrealistic expectations. This approach becomes even more powerful when combined with psychological preparation. Jung taught that self-awareness is the key to navigating the cycles of life. Practices like dream analysis, meditation, and reflections on the archetypes acting within us help identify patterns and prepare us for inevitable changes. This preparation does not eliminate challenges, but empowers us to face them with wisdom. Cycles are also tools for individuation, the process Jung described as psychological maturation toward wholeness. Each oscillation between light and shadow, gain and loss, represents an opportunity to integrate different aspects of ourselves. It is in accepting the rhythm of life that we find not only balance but also psychological prosperity, a state of internal harmony and spiritual connection. Recognizing these patterns and aligning them with our personal journey not only brings emotional balance, but also a sense of purpose. If you feel there is more to explore within yourself, that there are hidden aspects waiting to be integrated, you may find a deep and transformative path. Alchemy and Archetypes: Exploring Inner Transformation Through Jungian Psychology, my latest ebook, was created for those who wish to go beyond a superficial understanding of Jung's psychology. In it, you will find practical insights on how to use concepts like archetypes, inner alchemy, and synchronicity to transform your life. If this content resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more transformative reflections and practical tips on psychology and spirituality. Leave a like to support our work and share this video with someone else who is also in search of purpose and self-awareness.